हाँ,
अच्छा
मदन
ये बताओ कि इस मीटिंग में कोई गवर्नर भी या कोई वो है क्या भाई, क्या कोऑर्डिनेटर, मेन कोऑर्डिनेटर, इसने जो सब कुछ ऑर्गेनाइज करता है, हु इज प्रिंसिपल एडवाइजर ऑफ दिस ऑर्गेनाइजर ऑफ दिस?
मदन गोयल, मदन गोयल.
Madan and Harsh both.
And Harsh is
of course.
भाई
They
हम
are the
लोग
initiator of the group, you
हाँ,
can say.
ये मदन ने इसको इनिशिएट किया था।
अच्छा,
और मीटिंग्स को तो इनवाइट तो मैं ही भेज रहा हूँ अभी, बाद में शायद कोई दूसरा आदमी वॉलंटियर कर लेगा। एंड बाकी तो हम सभी लोग हम लोग सेवा की हैं, कोई इसमें कोई वो नहीं है, कंट्रोलर है कोई।
ज़्यादा स्ट्रक्चर्ड नहीं है, मीटिंग खड़ा नहीं है।
So we basically
very informal.
but it's going on quite well.
So we basically try to discuss a subject, and everybody puts in their own thoughts and volunteers. So that's the whole idea. So
Harsh ji, चालू.
Get the ball rolling.
हाँ, तो मकरंद बोल रहे थे।
हाँ, तो I'll give 3 statements. The first is that God is everything.
Okay.
Second statement, man is something.
Okay.
And third statement, man is nothing.
Wow. क्या बात है।
Yes. So
can you elaborate it? Can you elaborate it?
मैं थोड़ा सा, out of these 3 statements, the moment you realize that the third statement is right, that means man is nothing, that is also the moment when you realize that God is everything. These realizations come together. Now, what is the roadblock towards this realization? That is what we are calling ego, aham, which is today's topic.
Wonderful.
So I will leave with this little snippet.
Perfect.
Let Harsh take over.
Okay. चलिए, तो मैं I will not start with these huge statements क्योंकि they are very big. But I'll start with very simple thing. Ahem.
Yes.
Then we go to ego also. Now I'm trying to basically use these two words slightly differently to make a point. I think I also want to make it clear कि हम लोग जो examples लेते हैं, those examples are to be considered as examples only. And I'll give you an example for this example. यहाँ कनाडा में एक पार्क है, बहुत अच्छा पार्क है, वहाँ फ्लावर्स वगैरह बड़े अच्छे आते हैं। तो उसी पार्क में उन्होंने एक छोटा सा एरिया बनाया हुआ है जिसमें उन्होंने जू बनाया हुआ है। तो जो बच्चे जाते हैं वहाँ पर तो उसको वो जू में भी दिखाते हैं। बेसिकली एक स्ट्रीट बनाई हुई है जिसके दोनों तरफ उन्होंने कटघरे बनाए हुए हैं या एरिया बनाए हुए हैं जिसमें उन्होंने कुछ एनिमल्स रखे हुए हैं। तो हम लोग एक बार उस पार्क में गए तो हमने कहा चलो हम भी जू की तरफ देख के तो आए। वैसे तो पता है कि बच्चों का काम है, हम तो बड़े हो गए हैं, बट फिर भी देखे तो सही है क्या। तो we went there and we saw some animals which we had never seen in our life. ऐसे हम लोग हैरान हो गए देख के उन्हें कि अरे what kind of animals these are. तो अभी उनमें से कुछ एक एनिमल ऐसा था जिसकी गर्दन जो थी वो बड़ी लंबी थी, बट उसकी पूरी ओवरऑल शेप जो थी वो एक घोड़े की तरह थी। बट आप घोड़े को थोड़ा छोटा कर दें हाइट में और गर्दन उसकी लंबी कर दें और लेग्स को उसकी मोटा कर दें जैसे गैंडे की होती हैं, तो आपको समझ में आया कि वो क्या एनिमल होगा। And I don't expect that you will understand it. Why? Because I am trying to explain something to you which you have never seen, and I am trying to explain it in the terms, in the words which you have seen. So I am saying कि भाई घोड़े की तरह है, गर्दन लंबी है, उसकी टांग जो है वो सांड की तरह है. Now in this example, if you see that animal जो मैंने देखा था यहाँ पर, if when you will come and see it, you will say यार इसकी टांगे तो नहीं है गैंडे जैसी, और ये तो घोड़े जैसा भी नहीं है. So basically what will happen is that when we try to explain something which is unknown, we always have to use the help of things which are known.
Right.
So when we take the help of the things which are known, they are not an exact definition or replication of the unknown. They are only something similar to it, something that can point to it, but it is not that. मतलब मैं do, no matter how much I try, that animal I cannot explain to you in the exact manner the way it was. I can only say something similar. So what it means is that even when in physical reality, when we are using these examples, we are never going to be able to actually give you a 100% accurate match. Because if the 100% accurate match is only of the thing that we are trying to explain, everything else is similar to it. So in spirituality, it becomes extremely difficult to explain something which we have not seen, which we do not know. So what we try to do is, we take the next best approach. We say, okay, it looks like a horse, but it's shorter. So it's something similar. We say, we try to point towards it. Okay, this example is trying to point that is somehow, somewhere the reality is. It looks something like this, but it is not this. So we always need to remember that whenever we take this kind of example in spirituality also, it will never be an exact 100% description of the unknown. It will always be something similar to it or something that can point to it. Okay, so that clarity we must keep in our mind. So we cannot say कि भाई आपने example दिया तो example गलत था. नहीं, example गलत नहीं था. The purpose of the example was just to point. Okay. Now what happens is that now coming back to aham. Now Sanskrit language जो है, I don't know if you know it or not, but Sanskrit, the word means purified.
एक मिनट हर्ष, एक मिनट.
हाँ जी.
तुमने जो ये example दी जानवर की,
हाँ जी.
what are you trying to portray? What exactly it was? What are you trying to say?
I'm trying to say that whatever examples we will give in our discussions, it's not the example which is the topic of discussion. It is the example is trying to point towards something that is the topic of discussion.
लेकिन फिर जब भी हम एग्जाम्पल देते हैं तो किसी रेलेवेंस में देते हैं, किसी इंसिडेंस को, किसी बात को, ताकि हम उस एग्जाम्पल को अपनी जिंदगी में या जिससे बात से किसी से रिलेट कर सकें.
True,
है ना?
and that's what we will do.
ठीक है, चलिए आगे बढ़ते हैं.
That's what we will do.
चलिए.
So what happens is now Sanskrit is a language which is a highly purified language. This language, if you study the language as an artist, you will be totally amazed at how this language is formed and how the letters are originated and how the letters combined to make a word, and how the word can give you a different meaning depending on the state of your mind or the status of the maturity of the mind level. मैं आपको एक एग्जांपल देता हूँ. भगवत गीता में आपको, अगर आपने पढ़ी हो, तो उसमें कई जगह पर भगवान कृष्ण जो है वो अर्जुन को एड्रेस करते हैं डिफरेंट नेम्स के साथ। उनमें से एक नाम है पार्थ।
पार्थ सबसे ज्यादा यही यूज हुआ है।
नाउ पार्थ का जो एक नॉर्मल मीनिंग है वो है सन ऑफ प्रथा, ऑफ प्रथा। प्रथा वाज द नेम ऑफ द मदर ऑफ अर्जुन। सो
कुंती।
पार्थ इज प्रथा सन ऑफ प्रथा, which is very nice that he is addressing Arjun. Okay, you are Parth, you are son of Pritha. But Parth has another meaning. Parth can be divided into Pa plus Arth. Pa is a seed letter for Paramatma. आप देखिए Pa से most of the Sanskrit words जो Pa से शुरू होते हैं वो कुछ specific चीजें करते हैं। परम, प्रभु, जो सीड है उसका वो परमात्मा की तरफ वो इशारा करता है। तो जब वो उसको पार्थ बोलते हैं तो एक जगह तो वो उसको पृथा का सन बोल रहे हैं, दूसरी जगह बोल रहे हैं प प्लस अर्थ वाला पार्थ। अर्थ जो है उसको कहते हैं वेल्थ। तो जिस व्यक्ति के लिए परमात्मा इज द ओनली वेल्थ, that Vyakti is called Parth. So depending on the shloka that is being spoken, the meaning of Parth can change. Okay, so when he's talking about the world and the material world, he's addressing him as son of Pritha. But when he's talking about the spiritual truths, then he's talking about a person whose mindset has now come to that place where the only wealth for him is
Paramatma.
The totality, the Paramatma, whatever word you may use to call him, doesn't matter. Now coming back to Aham, if you see how Aham is written in Sanskrit, it is a,
Ha or dot.
and
Aya Ma Halant.
are the Chandra or Bindu, right? So keep that in mind. So what happens is there is when we talk about Srishti, and in English we will be using the word manifestation. Srishti means it includes everything and everything that you have experienced or even not experienced. फॉर एग्जाम्पल मैनिफेस्टेशन के अंदर लाइट की वो भी वेवलेंथ्स आ जाएंगी जिनको हम फिजिकली एक्सपीरियंस नहीं कर सकते, और वी आर एक्सपीरियंसिंग देम थ्रू सम एक्सटेंशन ऑफ सेंसेस लाइक एक्स-रेज एंड अल्ट्रावायलेट्स एंड ऑल दोस थिंग्स. So manifestation includes all of that. Manifestation also includes all the energy, जिसको प्राणा बोलते हैं, and is different forms. It also includes your thoughts. It also includes your emotions. Manifestation includes everything that is manifested. And the way the mind tries to understand and experience manifestation is that it tries to immediately project two things on it, a name and a form. This is our the nature of the mind is like that. It must project a name and a form on that whatever manifestation it wants to experience. It must do it. If it cannot do it, it finds it very hard to understand. Now in Sanskrit language, a and ha happen to be the first and last letters of the alphabet. So what it tries to say, the word says, any name and form which is going to be used, obviously it's going to be used through a language, right? So we need language for that. So her and her part denotes Srishti. The Ardha Chandra on top of it, and the Bindu. So now the Bindu is, let us start with by saying it is the self, Atma, the me, the I, the sense of I. When that sense of I is identifying downwards through the Ardha Chandra Rekha to Aha, that becomes an identity with the universe, with the Srishti. And that is the Aham that we normally experience in our lifetime. I am identified with the manifestation. And we'll go a little bit more in this. When the same I is no more identified with the manifestation, it is looking upwards or in a different direction. And in that direction, it identifies with the totality. And again, I may say, you can use whatever word you want to use for that particular totality. But let's say Paramatma, for example, or totality.
Harsh?
And when it identifies with that totality, sorry, just let me complete and then we can. When it identifies with that totality, it becomes Aham Brahma Asmi. It's the same Aham. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
I think you probably indirectly you answered it. When you were saying manifestation of, I was going to say manifestation of the consciousness.
Right.
Right.
Okay, so now that is the sense of I. But now the sense of I, as soon as it gets identified with the things which are manifested, it wants to immediately think, for example, I am a man because I am identified with the body of a man. I like to eat this food because I'm identified with the taste of that particular food. I like people who are honest with me because I have a belief and I am identifying with my own assessment of honesty. So I have multiple beliefs and I'm identified with them. And I have multiple emotions that are rising and I'm identifying with them. I am happy, I am sad, I am depressed, I am angry, I am upset. It's all an identification with that particular emotion or thought. And this identification, stronger it is, stronger and bigger the word ego is. And that's where the word ego starts to come in the picture. Now, and this is a big subject and we'll continue doing this, a little bit more analysis on this, but here's a problem that for thousands of years we have been, or the human beings have been facing and have been talking about, but have not found a solution to. And this is amazing. For thousands of years, we have been saying ego is something that you must get rid of. If you want to experience the totality, ego is something you must get rid of. And don't you think it is amazing that billions and billions of people have taken birth? I mean, even now, existing time, there are 7 billion people, but there are people who have taken birth and died. So if you consider those, it may be even trillions from the time, thousands of years or hundreds of thousands of years. And almost everybody, no matter from which part of the world, they come back and they say, get rid of ego. And so how is it? It is amazing that if everybody says get rid of ego, and they have not been able to get rid of ego. And there is a reason for that. why it is not easy to get rid of ego. And I'll give you another example, and this is where I would again suggest that this is just an example. Okay, it's just trying to point towards something. So you cannot, we will not discuss the example itself, but it's whatever the purpose of that example, we'll try to talk about it. Let's take a plate of glass, a transparent glass, a sheet, a plate, right? So light can come through one side and go through and go to the other side. It's a plain sheet of glass. And let's mark it with a marker. Draw one line on it. And if the light is shining on one side of it, and we hold the glass in air somewhere, we will see that there is a shadow of that mark on the ground. Now we put a few more lines on that. More lines and marks we place on the glass sheet, darker and bigger the shadow will become. That is a normal phenomenon that will happen. Ego is like the shadow. The marks are like the sanskars and vasanas that we touched upon last time in our chit. And we have been very interestingly telling everybody, let go of ego. So I, in my very wise, intelligent manner, take a scrubber, go down to the ground and try to rub the shadow off. And I can do that all my life, but it will never happen because it is a shadow. It's not going to be rubbed off. The only way I can get rid of that ego or that shadow is to turn the switch the light off. When it is all dark, no more shadow. I'm happy. But that's what happens when we are in the deep sleep. Ego is nowhere to be seen. The only way this ego can be removed is by erasing the marks on the glass plate. More of those marks are removed, more of the shadow vanishes. Because
I'll just join you.
Because we have been focusing on erasing the ego by scrubbing it, by doing so many things on it, not realizing that ego is not a physical manifestation. Ego is only a shadow. It's only a projection of my chit. It is only the purity and clarity of the chit which will remove the ego. Ego does not have to be scrubbed or rubbed. We need to understand what is causing this ego and look at the source of that ego. And once we start purifying that area, automatically the ego starts to go away. And this is a fact, and we have all experienced it. We have seen it. People who have purified mind, we use the terms purified, right? So purified basically means that you are removing those marks. And of course, there is a quality of the marks, and that's why we talked about the 3 gunas. So if you are able to remove those tamasic marks and rajasic marks, your shadows, darkness begins to go away. There is no way that I can go and declare from today onwards, I am going to get rid of my ego. It is not going to happen. But if I just say, okay, from today onwards, I'm not going to be angry, it is also not going to happen. I will be able to suppress it for some time, but it will come back. But if I say that I am going to purify my mind in such a manner that things which are making me angry are not able to make me angry anymore, then that anger will go away and that ego will go away automatically. I don't have to really work on the ego side. I just have to work on that chit side. So this ego, which is and Makarand very rightly started, that this ego is the one which is a barrier between me and my realization of the totality. And that barrier is caused by the chit. Ego is only a manifestation of that chit. So I can understand that there is something behind it. Because every emotion that comes out, it comes out because there is something causing it. Emotion only is a indicator. Just like in the physical body, a temperature, when it rises, it's an indicator that something wrong is happening and the body is trying to fight it. So just in the similar manner, every emotion, when I am angry, it is not because something outside has happened. It is because whatever happened outside has triggered that mark on my glass plate, that particular impression, that particular vasana or that particular group of vasanas or sanskars, it has triggered that, and that energy has now projected itself and come out as ego, as anger. So when I am angry, just like in the body, when I'm sick, if I'm sneezing, it's an indicator that something is wrong. Exactly the same way, when I have this emotional response, it is an indicator that there is something which is there, which has to be taken care of. So actually, to actually make those statements, and again, these statements, if they're taken in the right context, then they make sense. If they're taken in the wrong context, they don't make sense. So I would say ego is a non-existent projection, shadow of my sanskars and vasanas in my chit.